Good morning. My name is Katherine Haine. I'm president and CEO of CityMedia, and welcome to CityMedia TV. We've got a wonderful guest here this morning, David Edward from Strategic Initiatives Group. Welcome, David.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Thanks for joining us. David's a consultant to business owners, a lot of small and medium-sized businesses, as well as working with big brands that have all been the backbone of our economy. And going through sort of his 30 years of planning experience with some of the favorite brands and companies, entrepreneurs and business owners all over the world, David helps businesses solve problems and challenges. And boy, oh boy, it's been a challenging time for businesses these days, hasn't it?
Has it ever?
I think working
18 months has probably been the most challenging.
Absolutely. I mean, nobody could see, we were talking about this the other day, is nobody could see an environment like this coming. Like you could not have prepared for it. There's so many things that businesses work through and they plan for different unforeseen circumstances and things that could happen, but nobody would have predicted that we would be here until we got here. And now what do we do? So tell us a little bit about SIG, Strategic Initiatives, and then maybe we can talk a little bit more about some of the problems that the companies that you're dealing with, what they're facing, and how you help solve those problems for them, or help them maybe perhaps help them solve their problems, but you sort of nudge them in the right direction, right?
Right. Yeah, we're a planning consultancy, so we tend to focus on the small, medium-sized business sector. And what we do is help them become more competitive. And what we often talk about is finding that unique DNA within the company. What makes them successful? What makes them unique and interesting to their customers? And then we build on that through a very different form of business planning. Because I think that's one of the biggest issues that businesses, particularly that small, medium-sized sector, is facing right now is how do we plan, particularly in the middle of a pandemic? I mean, I do this for a living, planning, and I've been doing it for many, many years. And I can tell you that I didn't have a pandemic built into my own strategic plan. So I can't imagine that there are too many companies in the world that plan for that. But here we are. So what we need is a form of planning that really focuses in on those unique characteristics of a company, those things that are most compelling, because that's what's going to get us through this pandemic and onto better times ahead. So that's what we focus on here. And what we're finding. Yeah, go ahead, Katherine.
So tell us a little bit about how you would help a company at this stage when they're trying to sort that out. If you don't have a plan, or if what you plan for doesn't include a pandemic, what's next?
Well, I'll tell you, this to me is probably the biggest problem facing small, medium-sized businesses right now, and that is their business plan. And I know that sounds ironic, right? Business plans are supposed to help you navigate, change and get you to where you want to be. But the problem is the traditional plan isn't working anymore, particularly right now. It's proving to be ineffective simply because it's time consuming. And by the time you go through that process, the data that you're using is out of date, right? Because we're in these rapidly changing times. Mm-hmm. In fact, when I met with a client, recently, I asked to see their current plan. And so they got up from their desk and went over to the bookshelf, pulled down the plan that was in this nice binder. And that's the same for the rest of their leadership team. This plan was sitting in a binder on a shelf. Mm-hmm. It's no good out there, right? It's like you play snooker or play pool.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'm not very good at it, but
technically, right? You have a cold shot that you're going to make before you take the shot when you're playing snooker.
Right.
Well, that's what the plan is. That's what the traditional plan is. It calls the shot that you're going to take. The problem is when a plan's up on a shelf like that, you can't take the shot, right? And so in pool, call the shot, you take the shot. In traditional planning, you call the shot, but then nothing happens. And
Right.
that's the problem,
Exactly.
right? So innovation is becoming stagnant.
Hmm.
We're becoming a little bit paralyzed because we're not sure what we need to be doing. Because again, go
Right.
back to the snooker example. You call the shot, then you're thinking about taking the shot, but you're not sure if you should take the shot. And then all of a sudden, all the balls on the table are rearranged, right? So
Right.
that
Right.
moment has passed. So we need
Exactly.
something that's far more agile and responsive to what's going on out there in the market right now.
Absolutely. There's another good analogy that's a sports analogy that someone said to me some time ago, and it was a Wayne Gretzky quote. He said, "You always want to skate to where the puck is going to be. And instead of calling the shot, you want to get to where the puck is going to be." And boy, it's hard to figure out that strategy
That's
right
right.
now. Being
Yeah.
nimble and fast. Those 5-year plans are out the window. Now we're planning in increments of 3 months and 6 months. So how does a business address that? Do they really put their plan, sort of burn their 5-year plan and start from square one, or where do they go?
Well, I'll tell you, I don't know of too many companies right now that are actually doing 5-year plans. Even 3-year
Mhm.
plans are difficult to plan for or predict because we're moving so quickly and change is happening so rapidly. So what we're doing is a very collaborative form of planning where we're doing it in real time. We're looking at data in real time, or we're making decisions
Mhm.
on that data in real time. So what we've done is really shorten down the horizons. So we're not even looking at a 3-year or a 1-year plan. We're looking at this month by month and quarter by quarter. And what we call this is building momentum, right? So it's getting some quick wins. When you shorten the horizon, you can take a lot of the choppiness out of the change that's going on right now. And you can
Mhm.
start to make moves that are more certain and have a higher degree of predictability. But then you have to move through it really quickly, right? You're going to learn from that. You're not always going to be right. So you take that learning, adapt it, and go out and make your next move. And, and you have a
That's
series of quick wins that kind of move you through your plan.
which is so motivating to have those quick wins, because then that becomes it's quick. It makes it easier to make it a habit. You see
Right.
a lot of
Yeah.
businesses that you certainly think that goes on in sort of big, the larger businesses. But tell me how you work through that program with a small or a medium-sized business that just doesn't have the same resources.
And I'm going to use another example,
Mhm.
of another football example here, sports analogy. And think about any kind of team that's out there in the field, and they all have a common objective, right? They want to win. And you go onto the field with a set of plays that you've already designed. This is the playbook that you think is help you win the. So you call a play, you run the play. It might be successful, it might not be, but you're going to learn from that. What your competitors are doing, you learn how the market or the field is responding to what you're doing, and then you adjust your play
Mhm.
accordingly, and you go out, you do it again, and you do it again. And so that's how you build momentum. That's how you learn from your competitors, how you learn from your customers, but you keep moving the ball down the field towards that goal that you set, which is I'm going to score some points and I want to win the game. And that's how innovation starts to happen. So again, I come back to this collaborative approach that we take with our clients, where
Mhm.
we're taking in the real time and the real time learning, and we're adjusting our plays accordingly. So what are we going to do with this? How do we adjust and then get out there and make your next move? Learn from that, iterate it, do it again and do it again, and you keep moving that ball. And it's as you build that momentum and as you learn from what's happening in the marketplace, innovation starts to happen. You'll find that your employee teams become far more creative and responsive to the needs of your customers and to the threats posed by change or by your competitors. So companies become inherently more agile when you start to work this way. It's really the polar opposite to traditional planning, right? When you gather in a boardroom, you look at what's happened over the past year, you try to plot out where you want to be, you all go away, think about that, but there's no fresh learning, there's no fresh data that kind of enters into the process until you do that quarterly review. Well, now imagine your quarterly reviews happening daily or weekly. And so your company becomes that much more responsive. We're finding is far more successful in terms of navigating this chaos and change right now.
It sounds wonderful, but I think a lot of businesses are probably asking the question, where am I going to find the time? I mean, so many businesses are knee deep into all of their projects and everything that's going on. Where do they find the time to get started?
That's a question that I get asked a lot, right? That when you hear the word planning, right, it sounds like, oh my God, this is going to take forever, and it's going to take all these resources. It's going to take my people away from what they should be doing. And what we found is that planning, when it's done collaboratively and in this process that we have, it actually becomes part of what you do every day anyway. So a plan should not feel like it's an added task. It should feel like it's part of what you do each and every day. So that's why we've kind of blended both the strategic and the operational parts of planning together, so that you can do this every day and you'll be successful every day. And it's not one of these things where you have to step out and, oh, I've got another task, I've got to write this business plan. No, your task is to be successful and serve your customers, serve your employees. And that's what this process does.
Great way to approach it. Right. Great way to approach it, because if it becomes part of your day, it's a new habit, right? You're learning a new habit. The habit of planning is part of your thinking process. And then getting those wins on a regular basis makes it sticky. You keep coming back if you're winning, right? Always. So tell me, if you're working with a small business or a medium-sized business and they want to get started with you, where would be the best place to get started? Is there a way that they can reach you? And can we send them to your website? What should someone do?
Absolutely. Reach out to me at sigunlimited.com. And happy to talk to you about your specific needs and can walk you through the program that I think is going to get you the results that you need, particularly, in these challenging times. So I've got a 4-part process, the Thrive Planning Program, which gets you moving quickly. So that this process has 4 stages. And basically what we do is let's triage quickly all those problems and the barriers that are holding you back from success. Let's deal with that, because what we believe is your company can't be successful until the employees and the customers of your company are successful. So we deal with that first. And once you have that dealt with, and what we're learning, by the way, is that's an ongoing daily task that managers, leaders, and owners have to go through, particularly now during this pandemic. So we're dealing with that every day anyway. And then once you've dealt with that, what we call stabilizing your company, now you can get your head up and you can start to envision the win, envision where you want to be in future, how your company is going to be successful, how you're going to better serve customers in future. So that's where the strategic part comes in, but you can see how it's very closely tied to the success of your customers and employees. Then we move on to the 3rd stage, which is making the most of what you have in your organization. Unfortunately, planning's had a bit of a bad rap because, many consultants or planners will recommend, well, you need $1 million system, right? You need to upgrade your technology, do this or do that. Our approach is, hey, let's make the most of what you have in your organization right now. So we do a deep dive on skills and talents and your processes, your products and services. And again, find that unique DNA. And then from there, we can create what we call the unconventional game plan. So the non-traditional plan. right? It's that ability for you to serve your clients most effectively and uniquely, better than your competitors. And then that
Right.
fourth step, and this is the really important one, right, is get out there and get moving quickly. So mobilize those resources. Get out there, launch your products, get your programs out there, learn from them, adjust, and do it again, and keep moving that ball down the field.
Right, right. Which is great advice. You know, I have a feeling that our world has changed and that we're going to go through this iterative process for a long time, because that's just sort of the new normal, right?
I think it is. I think it is.
Right, right.
That's how we learn. That's how we're going to become far more effective.
Right,
and you know, I've written this in my last blog. To me, effectiveness is the new efficiency.
Right.
So businesses that are trying to hang on to that efficiency advantage, I mean, it's out the window, right? With social distancing and broken supply chains, it's so difficult. But effectiveness, that's the human efficiency. That's the reliance that we can have on our creativity and our ingenuity. And that's where innovation is going to come from. That's how we're going to advance. And that's how small, medium-sized businesses, I think, are going to win, not only now through this pandemic, but into the future. Because, like you say, I think this is where we're going. This is the way of the future.
Absolutely. So thank you very much. There's a lot of good things to think about in here. Sort of getting those quick wins right away to build some momentum. Making planning part of your everyday process so that it just changes the way you think, instead of looking at it like it's this onerous task that you have to get to someday. And then doing it through a collaborative process, and just, you know, there's no better time to start than now. I mean, you really plan to include planning in your everyday business practices. And if anyone's interested in getting started, I know, David, you have a number of great tools on your website. Some of them are for free for a download to get started, so it's accessible for everyone. I would encourage people to go to sigunlimited.com and just have a look around and learn a little bit more and start thinking. But most importantly, the number one thing is get out there and start planning and start moving through this process, because that is our new reality as business owners. Thank you so much, David, for your contribution and your comments. I really appreciate it. We learned a lot today, and look forward to talking again soon.
Great. Me as well.
Thanks.